It's actually never.
We're screwed. We're screwed. Our teams are screwed.
I didn't really have time to set it up, but I was thinking about doing a bit where I set up, like, I put my setup outside in the dark, and we just do a hard cut to me, like, crying in the dark.
It's like raining.
Yeah. I was like, it's probably not feasible, but it would be an accurate summation of
how you feel
how I'm
at this
feeling.
very moment in time. Yeah, no, dude, this, I was right. That's the good part. Dude, there's a lot of funny stuff that happened this week that kind of made me happy.
Yeah, like Daniel Jones dying.
Dude, Daniel Jones did die.
And now we've got Phillip Rivers. I mean, it's confirmed.
Let's freaking go. The first thing that popped up on my feed when that happened was the like old graphic on Joe Burrow's rookie year, whenever it was like showing like their stats, and on the bottom it had like kids, and it was like Phillip Rivers 9, Joe Burrow 0.
And that number's gone up. Let's be clear.
True. It's true. But yeah, dude, this week it's funny because last week when we were talking about the playoff matchups, I was like, man, I think it's going to be so different. And you were like, but it could be surprisingly the same. Which is funny just because you just blatantly contradicted me. But then, now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, it might not be that different. Like, I'm looking at these playoffs, and especially in the AFC, and I'm like, this might be it after this week's set of games.
We'll see. I mean, there's a world in which after this slate of games, we pretty much know who 80% of the playoff teams are going to be, and it's going to purely come down to who's, or like the 6 and 7 seeds.
Mm-hmm. No, but this week was really interesting. Welcome to 2 Down Territory. We're going to be recapping week 14, previewing week 15 a little bit, looking at our predictions, talking about the primetime games. It should be a fun one.
2 inches short, maybe less. Story of my life. It's been a while since he's seen a hole that big.
If you say he's a bust and you end up right, it's not because you're some genius. It's because you got lucky.
How I feel, man? Tell me how I feel, El Freaky.
We prayed that these perk 30s would nourish us and allow us to throw the ball.
They got to go get this bread.
If you suck, you might as well suck with purpose. And so...
Well, Adam, it's 2025, and the Kansas City Chiefs are mediocre, and Phillip Rivers is playing quarterback.
True.
I never thought I would be saying the same thing that 4-year-old Jonathan was saying at the same time. Here we are.
We're back.
20 years later, time is a flat circle. I don't even know what to start with.
I think we should do like what we always do. Let's talk about the Thursday night game. Lions beat the Cowboys 44-30 in a game in which it felt like, playoff hopes were on the line. And while even though the Lions are still technically out of the playoffs, if they were to start today, definitely kind of showed, especially offensively, that they are a playoff caliber team, and that even if it's probably not through the route of the division, just because they lost both games to the Packers, that they are going to be a tough out in that wild card spot.
They're 100% going to be a tough out. It's kind of one of those things where the Lions, to me, are very much in the same mental space as the Commanders were for me last season, which is they have the capacity to just decimate a team that they play, like even a playoff team. Like they can be on the road wild card game and win by 20 points. And then they can also run into a team or where it's not even necessarily the team. It's just, it doesn't click and they lose by 20 points. And so the Lions are a team that's almost hard to predict, other than the fact of they're pretty much, even though, like you said, not currently in the playoffs. If it ended today, they're going to be in 6 seed, maybe 7 seed. And it's all going to come down to whether or not that offense is clicking on the day of the game. That's about it feels like.
Absolutely. And even furthermore, to break it down a little bit more, you've talked about this the last few weeks. I've been talking about this for the whole season, basically, even the preseason. It comes down to just like, can they get their run game going? And then, to break that down even further, what is the offensive line matchup and what does that look like? They're starting to get a little bit more healthy on the offensive line. And this week they did a really good job in the trenches. And because of that, they now, according to the NFL, have a 52% chance of making the playoffs, which I think when I'm looking at the teams that are ahead of them, like the 49ers and the Bears, I think that they could have a good end of the season and kind of slip in pretty easily. In terms of the actual game flow, one thing I liked about this game, and I think it just kind of points to Dan Campbell and his offensive play calling style. First play of the game, right? First offensive play of the game, St. Brown gets the catch after a week where it was, he got injured in the Packers game, and it was like, is he going to play? He's probably going to be out for at least 2 weeks. He was able to play, and he immediately made an impact. Other thing specifically about the offense, when it got rolling, it was directly related to Jahmyr Gibbs. And one thing that's really been developing the last few weeks is Gibbs' involvement in the pass game, specifically over the middle of the field. Man, he has been, even in the Cowboys or even in the Packers game, like the screen game with Jahmyr Gibbs, his explosiveness and his ability to make guys miss, to outrun guys, but then also run through arm tackles is a really unique blend that, man, he is fun to watch. He's
he's
player.
The closest thing to a prime Christian McCaffrey. That's the prototype of running back that we're dealing with, where he can have, only 60 rushing yards in a game and still technically be the reason he beat you because you weren't checking the box score, and he also had 100 receiving yards.
Yeah. No, exactly.
I don't know how, if you're the Lions, you can feasibly put Jared Goff in a situation where he's throwing the ball downfield more than you are doing check downs and short little gadget plays. I just think that prioritizing that short to at most mid-level stuff needs to be 80% of the offensive play calling. And I'm afraid a little bit for the Lions that they can get into a playoff situation, a tight spot, and, Dan Campbell is going to start, dialing up bombs. And that's where you get into scary territory.
Yeah, and that's literally exactly what I said whenever they played the Eagles. That was like my whole entire analysis, was this interesting dynamic where you saw a situation where you could see the aggressiveness and the mindset of Dan Campbell in the play calling role when they were behind, when they needed points, when they had to get the offensive going. And the problem is that strategy, in my mind, doesn't feel like it's going to maximize Jared Goff, right? Like we've talked about this before. Jared Goff is a very in-rhythm quarterback. You have to be able to establish him, or in order to establish him, you have to give him the easy stuff, let him get a streak going, and then you can incorporate those bombs down the field. If you don't do that, he looks like a chicken with his head cut off. And that's exactly what happened in the Eagles game. And that's, I said, like, this is what worries me in a playoff scenario. And we, great call by us when we were talking about the Lions in the preseason, right? Like one of the biggest things we said is like, is Ben Johnson holding the craziness that is Dan Campbell back a little bit in a good way? Where it's like, maybe Ben Johnson created balance, right?
And I think more and more we've been
he was the chosen maybe one. Not. He is the Anakin Skywalker. he brought balance to the Force.
He brought balance to the Force. It's something where when we said that, we weren't saying it in some apocalyptic, like Dan Campbell is only purely going to dial up bombs. But even though it may be a little bit reductive, that's a good chunk of the losses that they have on this season in that vein where Jared Goff is a quarterback. I mean, last season, what does he have? He throws the perfect game. He goes 24 for 24, 100% completion percentage on the most amount of attempts, NFL record. Jared Goff is the type of quarterback where if you're going to win a game, it's going to be because he has an 80+% completion percentage. And that's not because he's throwing amazing balls. That's because of the play calling. If you lose, it's because he's throwing closer to 50% completion percentage because you get desperate and you just start chucking up shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's definitely again, and it really boils down to when the crap hits the fan, right? Because there are going to be situations, and depending on the matchup, in the first round, the Lions easily could go in there and just blow out a team. But if you have to play a team like the Eagles, for example, where they have a good defense and they have specifically an incredible defensive line that can really challenge that reworked offensive line of the Lions, how does Dan Campbell respond with his play calling? And if he responds like he did the first time they played, I think history will repeat itself. So that's going to be a huge development.
Fair. In the abstract, I will just comment, if they played right now, I would pick the Lions. And that's more of a comment on the Eagles.
I think that's a really good point. I think that's more about
that's what I mean. In the abstract, you are entirely correct. Specifically with the Eagles, though, I actually like the Lions in a rematch.
We will get to that.
Yes.
But a little bit on the Cowboys. They're
Season's
done.
over.
The tie kind of ruins everything in terms of statistically, mathematically. They're right now the 10 seed. Their chances of making the playoffs are 11%. The thing with the Cowboys is they gave it their best shot, but they were just outmatched. Clearly.
Here's the thing. In this game, yes, I'm going to step back out of this game because it was an identical game to what the Cowboys have played all season, which is the offense looks really good. Dak Prescott looks like a really good quarterback. Maybe not great, but really good. And the defense is atrocious. I'm actually, now that we're near the end of the season with all the highs and lows, if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm not too upset about this season. I mean, is your draft capital going to be great? No, because obviously you're talented enough to where you're not a top 10 pick. But you clearly have, with Schottenheimer, an offensive system that works.
Yeah, for sure.
You can essentially dedicate 80% of your offseason to reworking and retinkering and retooling that defense.
And the 20% is, what are you going to do with George Pickens?
Yes. And that 20% will carry a lot. But if you go into this next season with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens again and Dak Prescott, I'm happy. That's all I need. That is an offense right there that will get you to the playoffs. It entirely depends on what the defense does. I agree. That is
personally think it's the same reason why I thought the Bengals should re-sign T. Higgins. It's because I think that this concept that you have to have balance and that you can't afford to pay that much on the offense while also having a good defense is just incorrect, under good management. One thing, oh my gosh, dude, all of the hate comments against George Pickens with his low effort plays and the nonchalantness was really pissing me off this week. For a few reasons. Yeah. The first one is sure, if you compile a video of all the times where a wide receiver took a play off, it's going to look bad for every wide receiver.
Literally that's the first thing.
The second thing is that his nonchalantness is kind of a skill set, in the way that he runs his routes. The whole NBA YoungBoy comparison actually weirdly creates an advantage because it's really hard to predict where he's going to go.
Yeah, his
a
hit,
slant route is not just
so... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, a slant route is not a slant route every time because the wide receiver adds an element to that. Like George Pickens can run a really good slant, and it's because you don't know where he's going to go because he doesn't telegraph at all. Like his movements are so smooth that like he's an incredible wide receiver. This idea that he's just like giving up and not caring, I think is absolutely ridiculous. That's it.
And also, even going fully beyond that, just the idea of criticizing wide receivers. Listen, there's plenty of reasons to, but sometimes I get a little bit annoyed with like modern NFL fans who try to, sometimes it's deserved and sometimes it's not, where they cook up this narrative of like divas. And it's like, that's been the position of wide receiver since the 70s. Like Chris Collinsworth for the Bengals was a diva wide receiver. Like that's just what they are. And you have to bake that in. Maybe he's a little bit more on the spectrum, but like you said, there's actually a benefit to that, especially when he's in a situation where he's the clear number 2.
Yeah. No,
and the best thing from this season that we've learned is he's clearly, maybe little moments aside, in the aggregate, totally fine being the number 2. That's all I need to know. And so, yes, I'm 100% with you. George Pickens should be the only offensive priority, and then every other resource goes into defense.
Absolutely.
We can move to utter pain.
Pain and agony.
Okay, here. Let me just give me this, Adam. Let me take this.
You got it.
I've received many texts from people, some genuinely kind texts, making wellness checks, some much more sarcastic. I was born into this world with Brody Croyle as my quarterback, and I was raised on Matt Castle. Like, I get it. The Chiefs have been a dynasty for the last 7 years. I was bred in pain. I can deal with a season where we miss the playoffs and retool. So I'm removing myself from this, like, delusional aspect, spoiled aspect. That being said, atrocious game, boys. Terrible. Like, just utterly terrible. And I know this will also sound like a hyperbolic defense. Patrick Mahomes played an above-average game. I really think he did, given what he was working with for that offensive line. I mean, we literally had a man making his NFL debut, not his first start, his NFL debut at left tackle.
Yes,
so,
true.
And arguably the best guard in the NFL was injured. Our right tackle was injured. I mean, we were playing every position other than center with Creed Humphrey was a second or third string player.
Yes.
And then the drops.
Okay, I see your point. Sure. The drops were bad too.
And
they were really
bad. And the
bad.
drops were bad. Obviously, I mean, Kelsey obviously was the nail in the coffin with the tip up as an interception. But Rice had 3 different drops that were all passes. 2 of them were third down plays that hit him right in the hands that would have extended drives.
True.
And then to kick it all off, I didn't like Andy Reid's play calling. I objectively didn't.
I didn't either. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, it felt like a panicked Andy Reid, which
it did.
In my mind is like, okay. Yeah. The thing is like, what I don't want, it's this weird dynamic where it's like, you can't, because, obviously living in Kansas City, like I hear a lot of crap about the Chiefs, and most of everything, pretty much it feels like no one has a good opinion. Because on one hand, you have the group of Chiefs fans that are basically making all these excuses for why they're not playing well. And then on the other hand, you have this group of Chiefs fans that are also making excuses, but they're specifically directed towards Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And it's like, this is let's just be clear, right? The Chiefs do not have a good enough roster for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to carry them the way that they have in the past. That is not a nod or not a nod. That is not a insult or anything negative towards Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid. They are not superhuman. They are not God.
No.
You add on top of that
thing.
the return to the mean when it comes to close games, and just like the fluky stuff that happens in games that just aren't going their way, and then also all the injuries specifically in the secondary and the offensive line. It's like, yeah, like, no, there's not going to be against like the number one defense in the NFL. Like, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
this
I
isn't
fall
some
much
big
more
thing.
into the camp of the former camp of what you're describing as like the making excuses camp. The problem is, the difference is I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying we're playing badly because we don't have a good roster. And
No.
I mean, in this game specifically, the only thing that actually kept it close was one singular man. And it actually was 100% what I said. I predicted this to the T, which is Chris Jones.
Yep,
Chris Jones is going to come alive. And he is going to fight like hell because he knows this last night. He played so well. It's one of the greatest games I've ever, like, that's the thing. When it's all just from a purely step back view, I'm glad that I got to watch at least one more genuinely incredible Chris Jones game. He was the only reason they were in that game. We're going to have a reset in the offseason. It's going to be the same reset. It's going to be a different feeling for sure than the post Buccaneers Super Bowl loss reset, but it's going to be in that same vein. The offense will stay mostly the same in the sense of roster, but I'm assuming Matt Nagy will be fired, so there will be some offensive retooling in terms of the schematics. Most of the efforts will be focused on the defense, keeping some key pieces. And I just think the Chiefs are going to have a different identity going forward. Most of the play calling gripes that I had in this game was Andy was clearly calling it, and I can't even fault him because it's one of those things where he almost has to do it to try and inspire hope. He was trying to relive the vestiges of the Kansas City Chiefs of 3 years ago. And that type of play calling doesn't work when you don't have that roster.
Yeah.
Or at least and the pieces that you do have are degraded, mainly Kelsey.
The offense, I feel like for the past few years, the Chiefs offense hasn't really had a solid identity like it did when Patrick Mahomes first took over. And because the defense is always going to have an identity whenever you have Spagnuolo, right?
Yes.
Like that's just going to be baked into it. Where
they may not have the talent, but they'll have the identity.
They'll have the identity. And even I think you saw that in this game, because I think that overall, they gave up 20 points when you have, what was it, three turnovers?
3 interceptions. 2 of those were tipped balls, and the one of them was it was the punt interception where he chucks it down the field, gets picked, but it's at
when
the
you have those
line.
Types of turnover, again, this wasn't inherently a victory lap for the Texans offense. And we do need to talk about the Texans. We always our rule is that we talk about the Texas or the winner first. We broke it because this was kind of a big deal, being almost the nail in the coffin that is the Chiefs season. But the Texans defense is incredible, and that's really all there is to say. Will Anderson Jr., Daniil Hunter, they have this amazing mix of pass rusher and coverage that is just so hard to beat, right? And you've seen that throughout the year. I predicted the Texans to win. It's because of that defense. I thought that they would put the Chiefs in absolute jail, just because, like I said, I don't feel like the Chiefs have a clear offensive identity. And this is not, again, this is not anything against Andy Reid, but the power of Andy Reid is his ability to adapt his playbook to the players at hand. The problem is when you don't have weapons specifically that are good enough to create that identity, I guess you could say, then it kind of creates this situation where there's confusion with the overall play calling. And, what I'm talking about here is very philosophical, very up in the clouds, but I think it's important. I think we're seeing this with a lot of teams, including the Eagles, which is a whole, we'll get to that. But I just think that this offseason, they need to pull the Aaron Rodgers. They need to go in the cave and meditate because they need to figure out, who are they? You know what I'm saying?
We get Andy Reid on some ayahuasca and just see what happens.
Hey, they are the Chiefs after all. Get some.
It'll just be an incomprehensible playbook. It'll just be like scribbles and scratches.
Chip Kelly. They hired Chip Kelly as the OC.
Don't you put that on me. Don't put that bad juju anywhere near me.
The dementia-ridden Chip Kelly.
Oh my gosh. Here's what I'll say. There are 3 reasons if you want to chalk it up, and I will rank them as to why the Chiefs have had, or actually, no, I'll give you 4. First, roster.
Yeah.
Let's be upfront, roster. And I'm talking about this relative to the Chiefs' heights. Second,
yeah, for sure.
The second is offensive line, just purely in and of itself. The third is, I will keep it completely real. They are forcing things, and that is the one area where that is going to land majority on the brunt of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. There, you can clearly see, especially as a Chiefs fan who's watched this team intently, you know, it's been one of the major parts of my life over the last 7 years. You can see that they're forcing things that simply aren't there. And not just in terms of like Mahomes throwing a ball, but they're overthinking it in ways. And the fourth one is that's under-discussed, Butker. Butker has missed multiple kicks and PATs that have legitimately been game-changing. There's something that must be said is that if Butker makes that kick at the end of the half, the Chiefs probably actually do win this game in terms of the butterfly effect of every other all of the rest of the 10 points that the Texans scored were off Chiefs turnover on downs that they went for because they were trailing.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Like this game, the Chiefs would have had the lead after early in the third quarter if Butker makes that kick at the end of the second half. Like, I get you can butterfly effect this in a lot of ways, but if you look into it, Butker's decline, which has not been like some complete drop-off, has made an impact and probably attributed to, I would say, 2 of the Chiefs' losses.
Okay. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, the only issue with that is I think the better team won.
Maybe. I don't know.
So that's why it's I don't, but you could be right. It's kind of like, in Endgame or whatever, when Doctor Strange is
better
like
team.
At, like, the millions.
I'm also factoring in the home field advantage and just
maybe you never know. The point is
the momentum of the game. The momentum of the game as it hit going into the fourth quarter, the Chiefs held the momentum in this game. It was tied, and Chris Jones was single-handedly wrecking the Texans' offense. But we can comment on the Texans. I think it's something where obviously they put themselves in a position to make the playoffs. You feel a lot better about them, obviously, than you did at the start of the season. They've won 5 straight now. It's one of those things where there's 2 levels to this, because I don't see them as anywhere near close to Super Bowl contenders, nevertheless. And that's mainly because in this offseason, what will they be able to do? They have the task of maintaining that defense and just rehauling that offensive line.
Which, hopefully they learned from their mistake last year. If you saw the video of us recapping, grading the off seasons, I kind of laid into the Texans for the absolute mismanagement of the offensive line, and as a result of that, CJ Stroud's career. But I do want to point out something real quickly. So right now the Texans are 8-5, and here are their 5 losses: Rams, Buccaneers, Jaguars, Seahawks, Broncos.
No.
What is the common theme between those teams? It's the pass rush.
Great pass rushes.
It's a great pass. All of those teams, and some of them are forced, like Nick Bowles, like Nick Bowles. Who's Nick Bowles? I'm tripping. What's his name? The coach for the
Todd Bowles?
Todd Bowles. Like, who is that?
He's a forgettable man and a mediocre head coach.
Yeah, he's like a shadow head coach. Anyway,
we'll discuss that. You can't say that. That's racist.
I didn't even think about it. I don't see race. Anyway, Rams, Buccaneers, Jaguars, Seahawks, they all have good pass rushes. And so it's like, yeah, this is all cool. But then you look at the, this win streak that the Texans are on. So they beat the Jaguars in kind of a close game where the Jaguars just kind of imploded. The Titans, the Bills, the Colts, the Chiefs, those are all teams that just don't have a pass rush. And fortunately for them, when we're looking at the remaining schedule, Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers, Indianapolis, the Chargers probably have the best pass rush of all those teams.
No, they're probably across that, and I'm not going to predict the exact game. They're probably going to go 3-1 in that stretch. They're probably going to end up 11-6.
But like the thing is like, it just when you have such a glaring weakness, it's like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, there's a clear correlation though, and there's a clear issue that can be exposed very easily in a playoff situation. And so that's kind of where it's like, cool, you beat the Chiefs. I predicted them to beat the Chiefs, and it was simply because I'm noticing a theme here with their schedule, which is like, ooh, if you have a really good pass rush, you lose. If you have a bad pass rush, you win. So it's like, for a team who has such a clear weakness, again, that was exposed last year, to not address it, when you look down, when you look at this roster, like, it's an incredible roster, right? They have the franchise guy. They have, and their offensive draft picks, Higgins and Woody Marks, have really panned out. Like, you have all of these assets on the offense. Obviously, your defense is incredible. Like, you have the makings of an incredible team, if only it wasn't for the fact that as soon as you go against a top 10 pass rush, your offense implodes.
Can I say something, ridiculous, though? Because they're not a Super Bowl contender.
No, they're not.
That being said, is there a terrible matchup for them outside of the Broncos?
The Broncos. That's literally it. That's my next point.
Who would they be playing? Jaguars?
The Steelers, maybe, if somehow the Steelers make it out of the second round.
I mean, so, Jaguars,
the only way they play in the wild card.
Bills.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously, the difference, the factor that would exclude them in some of those games still, I'm not just saying I would take the Texans in those games. In some of those matchups, it would be, but it's a superior quarterback that they would be playing.
That feels like it's mitigated by...
The defense is good. I don't know.
The defense. Because they've beaten the Bills and the Chiefs. Like, there you go. They've
beaten the Bills and the Chiefs. I wouldn't love them in a Bills rematch. I get there's a lot of we'll talk about the Bills at some point throughout this video.
But the thing, and that's my final point was, so they have this clear weakness and it's really frustrating, but ironically, the best pass rushes in the NFL are in the NFC.
That's what I'm saying. They're not a Super Bowl contender purely for the fact that means if they were to make the Super Bowl, they'd have to play whichever team comes out of the NFC. Once again, and we're not just saying this because of this, both in our previous our special video that we did last week, I'm falling more and more in love with the take that unless the Chiefs are able to cash in on their 19% chance to make the playoffs, I don't think that there's a single team that is going to come out of the NFC that I wouldn't pick in a heartbeat against the AFC
Chiefs
team.
And the Chiefs is just like maybe some miracle they could win. Like, they have the best chance.
Purely just
I'm saying, like, if they make the playoffs, like, they have the best chance, and it still sucks because their offensive line is cooked. And like, what is the one situation in which the Chiefs lose a Super Bowl? When their offensive line gets cooked. So it's like, it's kind of seeming like whoever comes out of this, weirdly enough, and I know you're going to hate this.
Do we cancel the Super Bowl?
No. Weirdly enough, I think the team that I like the most in the AFC to
win
a
you're
game
say.
is the Broncos.
Yes, But then you counteract that. I know we've gone on a long tangent here. You counteract that with the fact
This
that
is just a funny thought experiment.
that Bo Nix is their quarterback, Adam. They have Bo Nix playing football.
Bo, I know. But what if, but like all I'm saying
It's never
is,
been more Bover.
all I'm saying is that from a purely like matchup perspective, based on this, because in this hypothetical world, other than the Bills, all of these teams don't have like the, history behind them. Like that's what's interesting about what happened with the Chiefs, where it's like, because when we did our preseason like playoff predictions, I basically eliminated the Chiefs from the start, because the Chiefs have the winning argument for why you would pick them, which is when they make the playoffs, they go to the AFC Championship. And I eliminated them simply to free them up.
Yeah.
Simply to free up my bracket. Ironically, that's what happens now.
And what's awesome about it, as a Chiefs fan, is that in one sense, us missing the playoffs would actually be great, rather than like sneaking in and losing in the playoffs, is saying like the wild card. Is that the Chiefs almost get to maintain some of their mystique by missing the playoffs, looking to the next season, because it's like, you didn't beat us in the playoffs. It's still right. Patrick Mahomes. I'm being mostly serious when I say that. That's a whole separate discussion, but it is kind of funny.
Well, he still hasn't lost. He still only makes the AFC Championship whenever he goes to the playoffs. Which is true.
Yes, which is quite literally true.
You are, I guess, still correct. But yeah, no. Interesting dynamic with the playoffs. We'll have to get into it. But I think we've exhausted. We haven't even really talked about this game, just because we're in the playoff football mode from here on out. Yeah. Speaking of which, Chargers, Eagles, 2 playoff teams. Jalen Hurts played bad.
Jalen Hurts, should he be benched? That's the questions that they're asking Nick Sirianni, which I hate Sirianni, but it's like, that's such a stupid, like, what do you expect? Like, it's almost like I'm almost happy for the reporter that he asked that question.
Oh my. Dude, he lit up the preseason. I had to look it up because I forgot his name.
That up. Like, what a terrible question in a beautiful way, where it's like there's no way that he comes out of that looking good, which makes me happy. Like, I'm very happy that reporter asked that question. Nick Sirianni, I don't know. Are we approaching the territory of 2 years ago?
2023 season? Yes, absolutely.
Where it's an utter collapse? Is this maybe yet again the only way in which, well, no, it wouldn't work out because they wouldn't be, because it wouldn't work like that with the seeding, but like they limp into, I was thinking about the Buccaneers playing them, but do the Eagles just limp into the playoffs and get like just pathetically defeated?
Potentially. Like, again, here's the thing. They're going to get their lick back because they're playing the Raiders and the Commanders. But then they play Buffalo and then the Commanders. So like they're probably going to go 3 at the worst. They're going to go 3-1 in that stretch of the season.
I could see them dropping 1 to the Commies.
You never know. It could happen. Here's the thing. We've talked about the Eagles offense this entire year. One thing I think we haven't done enough of is just highlighting the fact that Jalen Hurts is playing bad. And like, I'm not trying to say this from like, look at this one game. Like, obviously this one game he played terribly, but also just from like the general perspective of overall, from a macro perspective, he is not having a good season.
No,
like, it kind of is just.
And that's kind of one of those things where it's like, obviously Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to get the most attention. There are so many quarterback narratives that you could draw from of poor quarterback play. I mean, Josh Allen has struggled for a large part. Patrick Mahomes has struggled. Jalen
Lamar
Hurts has
Jackson,
struggled. Lamar Jackson, Joe
Jaden
Burrow, per
Daniels,
usual, is hurt. Um,
right?
I just it it feels like because we're officially at the point where this is the way the bracket's going to look for the most part. Like the teams that are going to win the divisions for the most part, we know. And is it a passing of the torch? Like, who's going to remain? Because, like, there's certain guys where it's like Drake May. You know he's here to stay. But, like, is Trevor Lawrence here to stay? Like, or some of these quarterbacks that right now in the playoff bracket are ahead of and will be ahead of when it's all said and done. Some of these NFL quarterbacks that we consider top 5, top 6, top 7 in the league. The only one that's come out of this season looking better in that group is Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single other quarterback, it was specifically Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, have all taken dings to their position in the league and the way we perceive them. Like none of them have elevated their overall NFL status.
Dak
But
Prescott
that
might have elevated.
Yes, but Dak Prescott wasn't in like top 7 in the league
That's
conversations.
True. That's true.
But my point is that the Eagles offense is bad and Jalen Hurts is not playing well, and I don't like this team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't either. We talked about that last week. I also don't like the fact that there is a clear correlation with the let's force AJ Brown the ball because there's like drama there and them losing games and offense looking bad. Again, I talked about this and, people are like, there was that meme where it's like, ooh, look, the offensive coordinator threw this interception. And it was like Jalen Hurts throwing a bad ball. But I do think it's true that like schematically, when you have AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, a good offensive line, and you're not having good offensive output and an equal, use of those weapons, there is a certain level where it's like, if you as an offensive coordinator cannot balance the attack, then you have failed. And, part of it is the fact that Jalen Hurts, like his archetype of quarterback is hand the ball off, run the ball, and throw the deep shot. But we've seen when we've seen in the past where that offense can attack the middle of a field, not at a staggering rate, at a rate though that allows for some sort of, like mystery into what's going to happen, to create some sort of level of unpredictability among their offense. And we're just not seeing that at all this year. All of the games where their offense have played well, it's directly correlated with big plays that are low percentage plays. And when you are a team, and it's low percent, it's higher with the percentage because Jalen Hurts is good at that because they do have the weapons, but it's still low percentage in the grand scheme of things. And so when you're an offense that's built like that, it's just not going to work well.
100%. Moving to the Chargers, this was an absolute must-win for them because there's a real world in which, I mean, all 4 of the games that they have left on their schedule are losable. They are going to Kansas City. They host the Cowboys. They go to the Cowboys. They host the Texans, and then they go to Denver. They can easily go 1-3 in those games, and if they had lost this one, that would put them out of the playoffs. Now they're pretty viable for it, even if they go 1-3 in those games.
Mm-hmm. Which, now here's something interesting, because I know how we just talked about how the Chiefs' playoffs hopes is over. when I'm looking at this, right?
The Chiefs are actually the path is there in a way that people aren't talking. No,
that is
it
the
literally
path right
is
there.
the only path, which is that the Chiefs obviously win out, and then the Chargers finish
are 10-7. Because the issue is that, right, like when we look at the 6th seed, right? So the Chargers right now have the tiebreakers, which I don't know what they are, over the Bills, 9-4. Bills are 9-4. Texans are 8-5. So right now, obviously, the cap for the Chiefs is 10-7 season. The Texans are going to win 2 more games. So they're going to have the matchup over them. The Bills are going to win 1 more game. They're going to have the matchup advantage over them. So then it's just up to the Chargers. There is a whirl. It's one
Chargers
of those things
and
where it's
Colts.
like,
and the Colts were already taken care of when Daniel Jones went
I'm not
we
even
can talk about
considering
that,
them.
but yeah.
I'm not even considering them. So we look at the Chargers, right? We look at their schedule, and you're right. It is a tough schedule. You have at Kansas City, at Dallas, at home versus the Texans, at Denver. Again, there is a situation in which right now at 8-4, they only get 10 wins. If that was the case,
9-4, but yes.
Or 9-4. So yeah, like they could easily go 1-3 in that stretch. Like I feel good. I don't feel good about obviously the Texans or the Broncos. The only thing that I am thinking about is the fact that the Broncos might have the division like clinched and might bench their starters in that Week 18 game. So that's like one thing that I've considered.
There's easily the chance, though, that the Broncos will be fighting for the 1 seed with the Patriots.
Right. So maybe there isn't. Right, exactly. And so it creates a situation where if Kansas City can beat the Chargers, which I personally have not made up my mind about how I'm going to pick that game. If Kansas City can beat them, they all of a sudden can have a 10-7 record winning out. Then the question is, who wins the tie at 10-7?
No. The math is there. If the Chiefs win out, that's assuming obviously that the Chiefs beat the Chargers in this game, and then the Chargers going forward
lose to the Dolphins or lose to the Broncos. So would they have the divisional matchup?
Yes, that's what it would be. It'd be record in divisional games.
Seed. There you go.
Yes. No, that's what I'm saying. Assuming that the Colts are plummeting, and I don't know the exact math, but like that one's pretty baked in, given both the fact that Daniel Jones is done, they have a 44-year-old man playing quarterback, and they play the toughest schedule in the NFL remaining. So I'm removing that from the equation. If the Chiefs win out and the Chargers go 1-3, one of those losses being to the Chiefs, then yes, the Chiefs mathematically have the 7 seed.
Okay. Yeah. So like, and it's really not,
it's a 19% chance. It's a 19% chance, but it is much more achievable than some people think.
I feel like it's more than that because I don't like the Chargers against the Texans or the Broncos, especially if they're fighting for the number 1 seed.
No, it might just
come down to that.
If the Chiefs beat the Chargers, then those chances jump up drastically.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see, but
let's look. So if the Chiefs win this week, so according to the NFL, with a win against the Chargers, they have a 19% chance of getting in.
Oh, they may currently have an 11%. I may have been saying the wrong percentage.
Yeah, so they have a 12%. I'm sorry. Right now, they have a 12% chance. It goes up to 19%. I think that's way different. That being said, I don't know. Like the Chargers could beat. They could beat the Texans, maybe, and maybe I don't know. It feels like I think obviously they have a good shot against Dallas. I don't know. We'll see. But that's going to be.
We will see.
That's the thing that we're all looking at, right? Is just how do the Chargers end up? Because the Chiefs could, with a win, obviously, again, this is dependent upon a win. You have the Chiefs fighting for their lives. Patrick Mahomes versus Justin Herbert in Arrowhead. That's going to be an incredible game.
In a way, it's exactly what I predicted to start the season, which is the Chiefs and the Chargers fighting neck and neck. I just thought it would be to like be the 1 seed or the 2 seed. Instead, it's to make the playoffs.
All right, pal. Get out of here with that. For context, it wasn't this situation. The actual discussion was, which team in the AFC West is more viable to compete for the division against the Chiefs. The Broncos, which was my side, the correct winning side, and the Chargers, which was the incorrect, wrong, stupid, dumb Jonathan side.
A take which you simultaneously dropped and re-added in the span of 45 minutes, approximately 7 weeks ago.
But I was back, baby! All right? And I'm still back. I knew it. I was right.
God.
You were wrong.
Well, we've put it off for long enough. Daniel Jones, what's in the water in Indiana? Tyrese Halliburton, Kalen Clark, and now Daniel Jones.
And it's all
they're
for
common
Mr.
for the Achilles.
Fernando Mendoza. I saw this thing where it was like they're doing sacrificial like sacrifices or I'm sorry. I just totally I lost it.
You just gave up mid-sentence.
I tried.
You're calling it a day.
I tried a bit. It didnn't work.
for Indiana football.
Yes,
it's all writing on Indiana college football now.
Mr. Mendoza.
I mean, we can get into the discussion if we want. There's really not much to say. The Phillip Rivers story will be a fun story up until he gets blown out by 30 points.
Yeah,
until he's literally killed on the football field.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so RIP to the Colts. You had a good run.
It was fun while it lasted, man. It was sad.
Fun while it lasted.
My notes of the Colts-Jaguars game is Colts are cooked, Trevor Lawrence is a dog, Liam Cohen is my muse.
Yeah, one thing that needs to be said is that we shan't allow any revisionist history to pretend like the Jaguars weren't going to win this game before Daniel Jones went down.
No.
So,
it was all related to the other side of the ball, which is Trevor Lawrence is a dog. And, it's one of those things where this whole season, Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. were, it looks like they were speaking different languages. They were playing with two different playbooks. Like, they were just not on the same page. All of the Jaguars' success came from schemes, specifically within the run game, and like one-off decent plays by Trevor Lawrence, and all of their failures pretty much directly related to the failures of Trevor Lawrence. But the whole time, me and you have been consistent in saying that this is not a year that's going to define Trevor Lawrence's career because it's going to take time. And I'm not saying that this was the game for the Jaguars where all of a sudden everything is figured out, but I will say that this felt like a game that they needed to really solidify who they are as a team. And if they can build momentum off of this,
yes,
they're going to be a really good team.
They are.
Be a good team.
I mean, funnily enough, BTJ was the game's leading receiver, and yet he only caught 3 balls. But the offense just looked like what it was envisioned to be possible heading into this season.
One thing I'm frustrated about this whole season is the fact that I was so, and I still am, but I was so adamant about how huge Liam Cohen was for that organization. And yet the whole season, I never fully bought in to that. Like, you bought in more than I did to the Jaguars.
I bought in more than you. I actually, in one of my playoff simulations, had the Jaguars in. I ended up cowarding out, but you've been so high on Liam Cohen that I won't hold it against you if you join me here with the Jaguars.
Oh, I am. I was so high on Liam Cohen, I just didn't think that he was God himself. Like, I didn't realize that he could do.
You didn't think it was a half a season project.
So
you thought this would be like a season and a half project.
Exactly. Like, I thought that what the Jaguars are cultivating right now was something that's going to happen, at this point next season.
Yeah, like this game that they just had happened a season early.
Like, I was willing to stake a claim in Liam Cohen Island and buy stock in Liam Cohen and hold and sit on it for 2 or 3 years.
I didn't realize that
the dividends are already returning. Exactly. I didn't realize that I'm already stacking my bread on top of my bread. I didn't realize that I could retire early in Dubai. Like,
you know what? Your Broncos take and your Liam Cohen take cancels out, because the Liam Cohen take is a very ethical one and the Broncos take is a very unethical take.
Want to talk about unethical takes? We'll get to my upset alert.
Oh my gosh, dude.
That was so awesome. Anyway, yeah, the Colts are cooked. It's going to be between the Texans and the Jaguars, and I think looking at the schedules, the Jaguars have a really, really good shot at winning the division.
The Jaguars have a fantastic chance. We do have to mention. Wait, Adam. Adam, do you hear that? Baker Mayfield. You just got shucked.
You got shucked. I have that written down. The Bucs got shucked.
The Bucs got shucked.
Dude,
and it wasn't even got shucked.
Dude, he balled out.
He
had
did
a couple rushing touchdowns. Like,
he outdogged the dog himself.
The dog himself. Right. No, dude, he got shucked, man. Tyler Shuck makes me feel a certain type of way. Tyler Shuck.
I don't know. Tyler Shuck. Really kind of a great last name for a Louisiana quarterback to have, considering that it's just unpronounceable, like everything in that godforsaken state. Sorry, Louisiana. We started this off supportive, so I had to drag you back down to reality.
Oh my gosh.
And also, when it's all said and done, this was not really great for your rebuild, in considering it dropped you like 4 spots in the draft order and may have like screwed over everything. But you got shucked.
But the thing is that if Shuck is the answer, if Shuck is the truth, then screw the draft. What did the Ramsey GM say?
I mean, by winning this game, did Tyler shuck himself?
Did the Saints get shucked by Tyler Shuck?
Yeah, the Saints may have gotten shucked more than the Bucs.
That's kind of shucked up. Oh my gosh.
We could do this all night.
Absolutely.
I'm having so much fun with this.
I love it.
Maybe one of the best games that a quarterback has ever played, with the stat line of 13 for 20 with 144 yards and an interception. Got me feeling a type of way, Tyler.
Got me feeling a type of way. Oh my gosh, dude! Tyler Shuck just makes me want to watch football. You know.
And on the other side of things,
let's tune into Saints football.
Tune in. The Buccaneers are really disappointing and sad.
Dude, what is it with the NFC South getting shucked?
I mean, they're in no danger of losing the division, is what's wild. Because the Falcons are the closest to them at, I want to say, with what record? 4-0. I guess the Panthers are viable. It just comes
down to their divisional games.
But the Panthers' remaining schedule is so it's a murderer's row.
It's true.
I don't know exactly what I would say about the Buccaneers other than it looks like the same old Buccaneers, but it's worse because you had actual expectations, and that makes everything more painful.
Yeah.
Like, this was the freebie. You were playing the Saints. You were playing Tyler Shuck.
True.
There's not much to say other than it's disappointing, and Baker Mayfield will have another playoff game, and he'll probably play like a dog, and they're still going to lose. And there's a multitude of factors that we could get into. We don't have to take up the time, but it's starting to feel like if we go long-term, for as awesome as this narrative has been, and we as NFL fans will always love Baker Mayfield, what's his actual career trajectory with the Buccaneers? Like, what's the actual path to exceeding beyond, hey, he won, assuming they win it this year, 4 straight division titles for them.
Yeah.
That kind of seems like the ceiling.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just come back to the injuries, right? Like, they've just struggled so much across the offensive line with their receivers. Bucky Irving was out. The hope is that, they can make some sort of run at the playoffs and just continue to build. And,
the anecdotal polling of not just my friend, but also my friend expressing the sentiments of all the other Bucks fans that he has surrounded himself with is that I think it's like 98% of Buccaneers fans want Todd Bowles fired. That's probably where you need to start, but then what does it look like after that? We don't need to go down that road. We have a whole off season to discuss it, and there's still a season and playoff football left to be played, which Tampa Bay will be playing at least one playoff game.
Yeah. We can move on to the next game I have highlighted. J.J. McCarthy played Michigan football, in which he barely threw the ball and yet had 3 touchdowns, and they ran the ball really well and had an incredible defensive performance.
God, I mean, is 9 back?
I don't know. I think that was just JJ. I think 9 was left behind.
I think we have to leave 9 in the past.
Yeah, I think 9 was taken out back and shot behind the shed.
Kevin O'Connell put him down, old Yeller style. This was one of those games where the Commanders are doing exactly what I wanted them to do, which is utterly tank.
Yeah.
And good for them. Like, the Vikings are doing what the Vikings should be doing, which is instilling confidence in their young quarterback and getting just a blowout victory. And the Commanders are tanking. I don't have many thoughts beyond that, but it was both of these teams actually came out doing exactly what they were supposed to do.
Which is funny. I'm just looking at Tankathon right now. So right now the Commanders have the 6th overall pick and they've lost 8 games in a row. Am I the GOAT at predicting risers and fallers?
Maybe so. I mean, am I also as well?
No, because you picked the Lions to fall, which they did, but not as horrendously as the Commanders.
Not as horrendously as the Commanders, but the Patriots have risen higher than the Bears.
That's true.
It balances out.
Especially more recently. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. This is
speaking of which,
this is the second week where the Vikings have had all 5 of their offensive line healthy.
It does count for something.
The Vikings have sneakily played really well defensively. Early in the season, their run game was like weirdly bad, where it's like they did all the things that Brian Flores defenses normally do, where they just like stack the box like no one ever before, and yet their gap discipline was just terrible. And yet all of a sudden, even again, sneakily, they had a really good defensive performance against Seattle. It was just that
if you made it black and
white,
their
offense was so terrible.
If you made the film black and white and put the old like tuba NFL films music over it, it would look like 1950s football where you've got like 9 guys in the box, but a running back is just weaving in and out of them because he's like the only black player, and you just have like 45-year-old white linebackers
just running around.
That's what the film would look like for some of the Vikings' previous games.
True. Anyway, that's it. We can move on to the next game.
We can move on to, speaking of your big riser, taking a little bit of a step back, although
yes,
I really thought that they were onto something, the Bears and the Packers. The Packers sneak one away, but I thought some people were, because they were looking for an excuse to say that the Bears are frauds, were overly hypocritical of them in this game. I actually came away feeling better about the Bears overall, and that's because my opinions on the Bears was pretty low.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Jordan Love, right? We're kind of seeing the first year he started where it was like, the first middle of the season he was figuring, or in the beginning of the season he was figuring things out, and then he all of a sudden like played MVP level football near the end. And we're kind of seeing that right now. Like Jordan Love is on an absolute tear of efficient, good quality quarterback play. What I wrote down for this game is that Jordan Love is a dog and suck it, Jonathan, because you picked the Bears to cover and they didn't cover by half a point.
I don't like you.
Oh,
I'm really upset about
Okay.
that. But
Anyway, but no, the Bears, they were able to get it really was as simple as Caleb Williams has really shown his athleticism this season in a way that looks a lot more controlled and doesn't lead to like a 27% sack percent or pressure to sack rate, which is pretty epic, right?
his
Like that
pressure
is
to
what you
sack
want.
rate is the best in the league right now.
Right. Like, and so, part of that I think has to do with the offensive line. A lot of people use the pressure to sack rate as like like an isolated stat to focus on
Well, here's
quarterbacks
the thing.
only.
Here's the flip side of this. And
There's
can I say something that's going to
Yes.
absolutely prove your point of what you've been saying all
Yes.
term about this is a deconstructive, not a constructive season?
Yes.
Here's the deconstruction. He's gone from having the worst pressure to sack rate in the league to the best. On the constructive side, his passer rating under pressure is the worst in the league.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so he has learned how to not take the negative plays in those moments. Now, is he converting them into positive plays? No, but they're not negatives.
Which, when you have Ben Johnson calling the plays and scheming guys open, incorporating a really good run game, especially through the middle with those three dogs on the interior offensive line and Drew Dalman, Jonah Jackson, Thuney, like all of these things are
Mm-hmm.
coming together. And again, I feel so vindicated in how I predicted this Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams relationship to be, which is that this season is about him breaking habits. And I do think in the last few weeks, we've started to see a version of Caleb Williams where we're mending this crazy, hectic athleticism that can result in positive plays and also system quarterback play. And that's all I was looking for. Like, if I'm the Bears, I was removing record from the equation. Like, the fact that they have the record that they do is only a plus. It's more about just like, what does Caleb Williams look like? Like, is he able to play system football? Because last year, the system ruined him and highlighted all of his bad habits, all of the pitfalls of this style of quarterback, which is very unique. I think the best comp is honestly Patrick Mahomes. But the reason why it's unique is because all the players like this don't generally succeed within the NFL. And the truth of the matter is that Caleb Williams had to break those habits, and he's starting to do that. And for me, I'm looking at this and saying, like, I think he personally, he has a great future. And I think that with Ben Johnson, with the tools around him, especially the young guy, like young weapons, right? You have
Yeah.
Monungai, who's a rookie. You have Luther Burden, who's the last few weeks really been incorporated well into the system. You have Colston Loveland, and then the mix of veteran pieces with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. You just have this situation where it's like you have a solid offensive line. You have, DeAndre Swift is having probably the best career or a season in his career, maybe not from a numbers perspective, but in terms of just like his overall play, like from the eye test, I just feel like I've never seen a DeAndre Swift that's playing this well.
Yeah.
It's just Ben Johnson has brought stability. And while it looks ugly at times, it's the necessary process when you have a quarterback who's suffered like a traumatic event, which was his rookie season.
Yes. I walked away from this game saying, oh, the Bears might actually be able to win a playoff game, which I
Absolutely.
probably wouldn't have said going into this game, which is hilarious, them coming off of a loss after having won like 7 straight. But
Yeah.
that is legitimately how it felt. We can touch on Steelers Ravens.
Yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself that I predicted the Ravens to win. This,
I
in
am a little
hindsight,
bit.
this is a Mike Tom, simply not because of like schematically, but more of just like in the, you can almost predict the pattern of how the season is going to go for the rest of the season just based on who Mike Tomlin is and what his
Yes.
teams do. This is a game that Mike Tomlin wins.
That's 100% true. I didn't read the tea leaves the right way, but in hindsight, you are correct. And it remains to be seen again, going back to this theme, Lamar Jackson, bad year. How is he
Yeah.
going to bounce back? Because at this point, the Ravens odds are worse than the Chiefs, as insane as that is, from just the general discussion of how poor the Chiefs are doing. But that's the reality. The Steelers are going to be the 4 seed. Yippee.
Probably, most likely. Yeah, just because, the Steelers schedule, they play the Browns, they play the Dolphins, and then they have the 2 divisional, and then they play the Lions. It really is probably going to come down to the last week of the season. And again, I just think that, they're probably going to win that game just because they are going to be a 9-8 team that sneaks into playoffs and loses in the first round, which, funnily enough, probably really easily could be the Bills. That is not it's one of those things where, ironically, like, if the playoffs, let's say in this hypothetical world where the Bills are the 5 seed playing the Steelers at the 4 seed, the team that the Patriots could play at the 2 seed winning the division is probably a worse matchup between, like, the Texans or the Chiefs potentially, or like
The Chargers.
Right? Like, you'd rather play the Steelers over those teams.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And we see this happen before, but it more commonly happens in the NFC than the AFC. But the AFC is kind of finally learning what it looks like in the trenches of mediocrity.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other games you want to touch on? Oh, I know the game you want to touch on. You
dude,
punk.
Speaking of unethical takes, so I picked the Raiders to cover the spread against Denver, and the way that they covered the spread was the most hysterical thing I've ever seen. 2-minute drill at the end of the game. They're down by what are they? They're down by 10
points.
Right? To keep in mind the spread is 7.5. They drive down the field beautifully and kick a 46-yard game-losing field goal. With 5 seconds on the clock, they kick the field goal. All it did was make it so that they were down by a touchdown instead of 10 points, and they covered the spread. And so I predicted the Raiders to cover the spread, just because I was like, Denver always keeps it close. 7.5 is not close enough.
God, the Broncos can't keep getting away with it. That's been my theme for them all season.
Absolutely ridiculous, dude. The Raiders kicked a game-losing 46-yard field goal.
Chris Paul with the 3 to cut it to 36.
Literally, it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of understand it. Like, there was 5 seconds on the clock when they kicked the field goal. Maybe that doesn't take 5 seconds. And, like, you have one play somehow. I don't know. Like, I don't know why they didn't. I don't know. But either way, I was happy with the decision. Thank you, Pete Carroll. It's just ironic,
No,
that's
the decision was made for the money. I mean, it's not a good, like, there's no beating around the bush. We know why that decision was made. the Vegas team, literally the Las Vegas team. It's right in front of your face.
Exactly.
Wake up.
The last thing I want to talk about actually happened today. Joe Burrow did a presser and said some pretty disheartening things. It kind of sounds like he's low-key like in a depressive episode. So that's not good. Basically, his comments were like, I'm just trying to do the best I could. I'm going through a lot, both personally and in football. It's hard to play. He made a comment where he said, like, it's hard to play when you no longer are having fun playing, which is not what you want to hear. A lot of, like, news outlets have twisted this to be like, ooh, early retirement coming. That's not what I read into this. I think worst case scenario is, and I'm speaking on this as a Bengals fan, is that he, like, requests a trade or something like that. Which I don't know if that's going to happen. I'll put it out there though. Because again, being a Bengals fan, it's an absolute roller coaster in the recent years of, oh, we're good, oh, we're bad, oh, we're good, oh, we're bad, right? We kept it close against the Bills. Ultimately, in a shootout, turnovers are generally what makes the game, or like wins or loses you the game. Joe Burrow had one turnover that was just like the pick six was just like, what? That was kind of weird.
It was just a
And
freak
then
play.
the next one was just
a great play
unlucky.
by the defense.
Yeah, Christian Benford made an incredible play. The point that I'm making, though, is simply that the Bengals front office needs to be taken out back and shot. Just like 9. They need the 9 treatment. We need to fire Duke Tobin, fire Zach Taylor, fire the entire coaching staff and start over. If you're a team that has a quarterback like Joe Burrow, who in individual moments in playoff situations can play like the best quarterback in the NFL and outplay all of the other best quarterbacks in the NFL, and you have that asset, and for 2 years in a row, you don't make the playoffs. And I understand that he was injured this year. And, I've been the first to defend the offensive line and specifically the Bengals and how they've reconstructed the offensive line, and to criticize Joe Burrow when it comes to, his decision-making under pressure and how he holds onto the ball too long, all of those things. The fact of the matter is that as a leader, Zach Taylor has totally failed him. Duke Tobin has totally failed him. And I'll say this now, if Joe Burrow, either retires early or requests a trade and leaves the Bengals and doesn't retire a Bengal, like, I'm done with this team, like, legitimately, because it's one of those things where it's like, I'm very loyal to this organization. And I think that as a fan, like, you need to be loyal to the team that you have chosen. But what is there to cheer for if you have an asset like this and you mishandle the situation so badly that he wants to leave?
No, it's a situation where when you have a guy like that, he is the most important person in the organization, and you need to handle it in a PR sense from the right way so he's not subverting the head coach or the GM. But when it's all said and done behind closed doors, he's top dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it clearly doesn't seem like the Bengals... It's weird, though, because in one sense, when it comes to roster decisions, he kind of has been the top dog. It's really more so the coaching.
That's where I'm getting at. It's just, and here's the thing. I pulled this up because I just want to clarify one thing, because I know that you've been a little bit, like, you've been critical of the signing of T. Higgins, and a lot of people have talked about, look how bad the offensive line is, and look how bad the defense is, whatever. When it comes to the offensive line, the truth, and I've talked about this a lot, Joe Burrow, his biggest flaw is how he plays under pressure and how he holds onto the ball too often. And the injury this year was a situation where our offensive line just got pummeled. Like, I'm not going to argue against that. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of his sacks come in situations where he's holding onto the ball, like, for way too long. And I'm not saying that, again, as like look, Joe Burrow isn't actually that good. No, he's incredible. Like, I will take him. I've said this. I've stamped my name on the claim that there's only one quarterback in the NFL that I would take over him. The fact of the matter is, though, is that the offensive, when he plays better under pressure, all of a sudden the offensive line looks great. Look at how they played against the Ravens. Look about how they played against the Bengals or the Bills. Look how they played against the Steelers in both games. It's directly related to quarterback play, in which they get rid of the ball quickly because they have the weapons to do so. Relating to the idea of how much we pay our offense, right now the Bengals have the 5th highest paid offense. In front of them are the Eagles, the Vikings, which is kind of crazy, the Bills, the Cowboys. Notice the two teams above them. The Eagles and the Vikings. So they have this incredibly high paid offense. Do you think that they have a bad defense? No, they don't. Right?
No.
When you look at the top paid defenses, I want to point you to the bottom. Right? You have the Eagles at the 30th highest paid defense, the Rams at the 29th highest paid defense, and then you even scroll up to the Texans, who have the 15th highest paid defense, and right below them is the Bengals with the 16th highest paid defense. They are paying $2 million less. The concept and the idea that because we paid T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, this idea that because we paid all those guys so much money, that all of a sudden that's the reason why our defense sucks, is completely flawed. It's because we did a terrible job rebuilding it. It is as simple as that.
a lot of the highlight teams that have really low paid defenses, you want to know why it is? Because their stars and studs and even like their high end role players are on rookie contracts.
Absolutely.
Jared Verse,
Absolutely.
Will Anderson, like all of these guys. That's the difference. When you don't hit on drafts and you combine that with poor defensive coaching, then of course you're going to have a poor result. It's not that you need to suddenly be like, so we're actually going to make our defense the entire financial priority. It's like, no, you actually just need to do what other teams do, which is draft well and coach well, and you'll actually be fine.
Absolutely. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, yes, you pay those guys because Joe Burrow said to pay them, and you can do that because the other thing that does is it means that you don't need a coach who completely ignores one side of the ball.
Yeah.
Like Zach Taylor has zero handling in how the defense plays and what they do and everything related to that. He needs to go. And if you have and it's not only that, but also just the fact that he hasn't instilled confidence in Joe Burrow, that Joe Burrow has repeatedly come out and said, yeah, at the beginning of the season, I just don't feel like
the only time that you should have a head coach situation like that is when it's a combination of, really it's one thing, which is that you're an offensive mastermind.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're able to pair that with the good coaching decisions of delegating to good people, a la Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. Andy Reid has nothing to do realistically with the Chiefs defense, but he delegates to a guy who can.
The top a top 3 defensive coordinator within the NFL. Right. It's the same thing. You could make the same case for Sirianni, right? Like, because he's delegating to Vic Fangio or with Braden or with Kevin O'Connell, where he's delegating to Brian Flores. Like, these are all guys that, you should delegate the defensive responsibilities to. It comes down to that the front office is a bunch of cheap bums who won't get off their butt and do the right thing for their quarterback. And so that's why I'm saying that if he leaves, if it becomes a situation where that happens, like either I'm just going to go wherever he goes and that's just going to be my team, or I'm going to just like live in this world of whatever. I'm just going to pick random teams year after year and just look at the NFL as a whole and kind of
just be a complete NFL nomad, a journeyman.
Exactly. I'll just be a journeyman.
Okay.
I'll just pick guys that I like. And cause and again, like I'm not trying to overreact to it. Cause I think realistically, I really
no, it's fair. You have the right to act this way as a Bengals fan.
I really want to believe that at the end of the season, we're going to fire Zach Taylor. We're going to get Duke Tobin out of there. But why was Zach Taylor hired in the first place? Because he was cheap. He was never a coordinator. He was the quarterback's coach for the Rams. He, I think, might be the cheapest head coach within the NFL right now. Like it just all comes down to money.
And maybe this is harsh, but probably a pretty good ass kisser.
Yeah. Yep. So I just say that I say all of that to say that like people are hurling, insults at the Bengals organization. And I'm not here to say that they shouldn't. I'm here to say that they're doing it in all the wrong places, right? Like the Bengals did right with the offensive line. Like, let's just be clear about that. We drafted the guys, we invested in the offseason, we got guys like Dalton Reisner, we drafted Dylan Fairchild. Like, we did right by that. The defense, total mishandling, total failure. All of those draft picks have just not panned out. DJ Turner, maybe. DJ Turner is actually kind of a dog.
I was going to say, I knew you'd
Turner
back
makes
that
me
up.
feel some type of way. And like guys like Miles Murphy has, he's played better in recent weeks, but like Shamar Stewart, what the heck was even that? Right? Like for a team that's trying to win now, what the heck was even that? I digress.
I mean, hey, they spent the money. They guaranteed his contract.
Yeah, they sure did. It just makes me mad because, and really just sad because it's like, I love Joe Burrow so much, man. Me and my girlfriend are like, do you think we could get him to officiate our wedding? like that's how invested in this man that I am.
You will be sending him an invitation.
Absolutely. I've DM'd him on Instagram. just like encouraging notes, man. I'm sure he hasn't gotten them, but just in case, you know.
I won't lie to you. When I was younger, I would do that with like Chiefs defensive role players who stepped up in a game. Like I would randomly DM like Juan Thornhill and be like, "Hey man," like when he was a rookie, and feel like, "Hey man, I saw the work you were putting in."
Let's go, Juan. Anyway,
Ugh.
I digress.
We
I
can
think
move on to
that's-
predictions.
I think that's all the games for this slate. Let me
Adam,
look.
you know what? It's all sent up. We put all of that in the past. The week 14 is in the books. We look to week 15.
Yeah.
Let's start it off Thursday night football. Falcons at the Buccaneers.
Man, this is
Oh,
tough,
wait.
'cause
I have to
you gotta
explain to the people.
game and where
I have
we're
to
at.
explain our
I had a
game, folks.
I was excited about this week.
Um,
With the upset alerts.
We play a game where we predict every single game in the NFL season. If you get the game right, you get 1 point. If you get the game wrong, you get no points. But once a week, you get an upset alert. If a team is an underdog by 2.5 points or more, you can pick them to do one of two things: to either cover the spread, in which case you get 3 points if you pick that correctly, or to outright win, where you get 3 points plus however many points the spread was. But if you get upset alerts wrong, you lose points. So we are currently, Adam, close-ish still. You have 151 points.
Let's go.
And I have 144. So a respectable 7-point lead heading into this week for you, Adam.
Huge. Yeah, this week was big for me. 1 second. I'm doing a little bit of research on the side because I just thought of something and I just want to confirm.
Oh, yeah? Does this pertain to your upset alert?
No, it doesn't. It pertains to this game, though.
Okay. So Falcons at Buccaneers. I'll go ahead and kick us off. I am picking the Buccaneers. I get it. They've been in a slump. They've looked ugly, but I just... like, this seems like a get-right game, but not in the sense of where the Buccaneers will actually be right. It's like a get-something game. And the Falcons at this point are no longer in that camp of mediocre. In my mind, they're just, and not just in my mind, in what I think is basic reality, they're just objectively bad. So,
Yes. I'm with you.
Give me the Bucs.
Research concluded, so far, after a team has lost to the Saints, every time, which is a small sample size because only 3 teams have lost to the Saints, but so basically 2, because, but anyway, they immediately win the next week, right? So the
What
Giants
incredible
lost
research,
to the
Adam.
Saints in the week 5, and then in week 6, the Giants had the great win over the Philadelphia Eagles, and in week, where is it? In week 10, the Panthers lost to the Saints. And in week 11, the Panthers beat the Falcons in the incredible, Bryce Young game, 30-27 overtime win. So I'm picking the Bucs. So who am I to spit in the face of history?
No, babe. The big sample size is hurt. Yours is totally fine. A sample size of 2. What are we talking about?
I'm telling you, man. I'm diagnosing patterns here. I'm figuring it out. I'm
noticing.
looking deeper. I'm noticing. I'm noticing intently is what I'm doing.
We can move on to the Browns at the Bears.
I'm taking the Bears.
Yeah, we don't need to
This
talk
feels
about
like a
this.
game,
Give
though.
me the Bears.
Caleb Williams goes from Caleb Hurts. I'm tripping. Caleb Williams goes from the best pressure to sack rate in the NFL to Myles Garrett, making him have the worst pressure to sack rate in the NFL. Record alert or record watch. Myles Garrett now has 20 sacks, so he's coming for
2.5. If he gets 3, he breaks the record. It's on the table.
Pull it off. He could pull it off.
He could do it. Ravens at Bengals.
I'm taking the Ravens, man.
Yeah, I searched for
Especially after
reasons.
those comments.
Yeah, that was the nail in the coffin for
That's
me.
exactly
Give
what
me
it
the
was for me too.
Ravens. We can move right on as to not wallow in your suffering and pain to the Chiefs season. Chargers at Chiefs in Arrowhead.
Yeah, this is where, so like last week, I picked the Texans basically because I felt like this idea of who the Chiefs were based on their history is no longer a reason to go for the Chiefs. This week, however, I am picking the Chiefs based on what they've done this season. Like, I think that, and also based on the Chargers. Like, I know that the Chargers had a great win over the Eagles. I attribute that more to the Eagles than the Chargers. I do think that Spagnuolo is going to be able to put pressure on Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert is probably going to play well. But I don't know. I just think that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid has at least one more game in them in order to give their season a chance.
100%. I'm right there with you. You kind of said exactly what I was thinking, so we don't need to dwell on it too much. I am taking the Chiefs.
Perfect.
Right into another massive game, Bills at Patriots.
This one is tough, right? This is in Gillette Stadium, isn't it?
Yes, this is in Gillette.
I think, what is your analysis? Because I have an idea of where I'm going, but I'm not 100%.
My analysis is really simplistic, which is, my goodness, when I got to this game, I just had a gut feeling, and I haven't seen anything that would make me overthink it. I'm taking the Bills.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning to. I really like the idea that when two good teams play each other, generally they split. I think that obviously the Patriots still have a really, really solid chance at the division.
Oh,
But I
100%.
don't think it's about that. Last week we saw, Josh Allen. It was a bad defense. Don't get me wrong. Really bad defense. Josh Allen turned into Superman in that game. And I think that he can carry that momentum and kind of show like there's a reason he's an MVP winner. Like I think there's a lot of pride in this game for Josh Allen.
That was my main analysis, which is, I think this is a moment of like, the Drake May meet Josh Allen. Like,
right.
That it seems like one of those games, and I could be incredibly mistaken, but I think we're on the same wavelength here. I am going with Buffalo.
Which let me just point one thing out with Buffalo that I've kind of started to notice. A few weeks ago, we actually pointed out, I think it was after the Bucs game, how the Bills early in the game showed aggression and that it led to an early turnover. And yet it was clearly overcome by just how great Josh Allen can be. I think that when I was analyzing this game, Bills versus Bengals, I was focusing really heavily on the idea that like the Bills can win this game without Josh Allen just by running the ball with James Cook. After watching the game, what I began to realize is that I think that is a trap that the Bills can fall into that I don't think that they're going to fall into again.
No.
Which is where, at the end of the day, the run game should be supplementary to the magic that is Josh Allen and what he can do with his legs, what he can do in throwing the ball. Like that needs to be a supplementary piece and factor in their overall offensive game plan. And that's what can really elevate their offense in really crucial
Josh
moments.
Allen combined QB rushes / scrambles and pass attempts is over 40, then the Bills, I think, win this game. Like, that's
Yes.
what the scheme needs to be, and I think it will be, and I think that's why the Bills win. Like, like there's a world in which that number gets closer to like 45.
I guess what my point is that for a long time in Josh Allen's career, we've seen this situation where it's like, if only they had a run game, right? Where now they've almost overcorrected.
Which we kind of saw that last
at
year.
times. Yeah, exactly.
And it was
You
great
saw the
up
balance.
until like they played the Chiefs.
Basically,
it looked
yeah.
like a terrifying team.
And so, yeah, that's it. I just think that sometimes, and then you add on to the fact, like the whole turnover situation where it's like, Josh Allen does have these turnovers or, fumbles and everything like that. And sometimes I think Joe Brady and his play calling can get a little bit complacent. And when you just kind of forget about that and just let Josh Allen take over, good things can happen.
Good things can happen. We can move on to the who wants to lose it more game, the Commanders at the Giants.
Yeah. I'm picking the Giants.
I'm picking the Giants too. I think the Commanders want to lose more.
I do too. I just think that the Giants, I don't know, like with Jackson Dart and, this young team with this interim head coach, like it's not about like there are just too many guys on this team that are fighting for their jobs and their future. Where the Commanders, that's just not the case. Like I think Dan
And
Quinn, Jaden Daniels, like they're solidified.
yes,
If Jaden
and
Daniels even plays, I actually don't know if he will.
it's a combination of both guys on the Giants fighting for careers and for future roster spots and instilling confidence in Jackson Dart, whereas the Commanders have none of that pressure. They're not going to want this.
Bad.
And they're bad at football.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing here.
That is a big factor here. We can move into a game that do we even need to pick? Raiders at Eagles?
I'm taking the Eagles.
Wow. This is actually my upset alert. Raiders outright.
No,
it is not. I am taking the Eagles. Jets at Jaguars.
I'm taking the Jaguars.
Couple easy ones there.
Yeah.
Didn't have to think about either of those too hard. Now we move to another easy one, potentially. Cardinals at Texans.
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans.
You are taking the Texans. I'm taking the Texans as well, but I'm taking the Cardinals to cover the 9.5 spread.
Yeah, I was looking at the spread too, and I was like, that feels ripe for the taking.
The funny thing is, this wasn't even a top 3 largest spread this week.
True.
One is very sad. We'll get to it, but I am taking the Cardinals to cover 9.5 points. I think there's a path, and I think that the Texans offense in general, like it could easily be like a 20-13 game or 20-12 game, something like that. I like my odds in this one. No further conversation needed. Packers at Broncos. This is a fun NFC AFC matchup.
Yeah.
Kind of styles of football that are going to be pitted against each other in a way that I really didn't know how it would pan out, but I stuck with my gut, which is that I hate the Broncos, and I picked the Packers.
Yeah, so my gut actually initially told me Packers too, and that's where I'm going. This just feels like a Micah Parsons game for some reason. I don't know why. There's not really anything to that other than I just have this feeling that Micah Parsons is about to ball out.
I like that call.
And Jordan Love is just like kind of balling out right now, and I think that he's going to continue it. I think, obviously I've talked very highly about the Broncos defense. I just, for some reason, I'm just like Christian Watson and Jordan Love has been kind of moving differently more as of late.
It has. There's a world in which, even though like I came away thinking more positively about the Bears relative than I did previously, there's a world in which that Bears win or Packers win against the Bears was kind of like a fork in the road moment, and they went down the good path. Like that could really instill some confidence in this team, and they don't look back for the rest of the season. I'm not predicting a complete domination in that sense for the rest of the season, but at least for this game, I like the Packers.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Lions at Rams.
This is a really, really good game, I think. I think that, I'm picking the Rams. Obviously, this is a hard matchup. I just think that the Rams are just so dominant, and I think that this is one of those situations, we talked about it with the Lions, particularly in their offense, where I just think that the Rams have a clear advantage in the trenches.
Clear advantage in the trenches, and it's one of those things where everything that the Lions do, the Rams do more betterer.
True.
And so for that reason, plus even though LA home crowd advantage is relatively
Nothing.
minor, it is a home game. The Lions are having to travel. All of these factors together, I am taking the Rams, but this should be an entertaining game.
Absolutely.
Panthers at Saints.
Dude, does Shuck do him to him twice?
I mean, we'd kind of have to, rework everything that we think about the New Orleans Saints.
True. No, I can't do it. I'm picking the Panthers. I'm
picking
doing
the
this the
Panthers
whole
as
season.
well. I mean, the Saints aren't winning
I'm never
back-to-back
going to pick the
games.
Saints. No, there's no way.
You know how rare it is for Shuck to strike twice?
It's like
It's like
Oh
you can
my
get
gosh.
one, at least
You
where
can
he
get
is
one.
right now. Titans at 49ers.
Yeah, I'm taking the 49ers. Although I was looking at this isn't my upset alert, but I almost wanted it to be. I almost picked it. 12.5 points. Like, I feel like I could see the Titans messing around and covering that.
That's fair, especially after the offensive output that they had against the Browns. But
Yeah, the problem
again,
is
that we didn't
that's
talk
the
about.
Browns.
But the problem is that is the Browns.
That's because we're not going to get
Indeed.
sucked into the
Oh my gosh,
stupid discourse that was a result of that game. Like, I am
the
unfazed by
Shedeur
that.
Sanders discourse.
It's two bad teams playing against each other, and the team that lost in horrendous, stupid, losing football fashion.
Losing football fashion, and it also didn't strike people's minds whatsoever in like the why do you pull Shedeur? I haven't seen once anybody mention the fact that like the Browns could be kind of okay with losing the game.
Yeah.
That's never factored into that conversation once because it's a stupid conversation for a variety of reasons.
Yes.
Colts at Seahawks. The Colts are favored by 11.5 points.
You mean the Seahawks?
Or the Seahawks are favored by 11.5.
That feels kind of right.
That's why I said I felt much better picking the Cardinals at plus 9.5 than I would have at picking the Colts plus 11. I may even be 12.5.
Shout out to the Jonathan Taylor MVP truthers. It was fun while it lasted. Jonathan Taylor is still incredible, but
I mean,
if Phillip Rivers,
if Phillip Rivers wins a game, if Phillip Rivers wins this game, how do we react?
What does that do to Mike
end
McDonald's legacy?
What does that do for Mike McDonald's legacy? I immediately strike him.
I'm going to sell all my stock in Mike McDonald. I'll never mention his name again.
Yeah, he'll turn in one move from friend of the show to enemy of the show.
Enemy of the show. That's the worst thing that we can
Vikings at Cowboys.
I don't know who's favored in this. I would imagine the Cowboys are. I'm picking the Vikings.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a big spread that I'm going against. Should I make this my upset alert? Just mess around and see what happens? No, I won't.
I mean,
it's a little too rich for my blood. But listen, like I said, that defense has been playing really, really well. And I also just think that last week was a situation where the Cowboys just like have accepted who they are. And they're not, I don't know. I just kind of get this feeling that they're not this team like the Chiefs, right? Like where, they're basically eliminated, but they're still technically a path. And, they win a game to keep it alive. Like, I feel like it's the opposite where it's like, oh, last week they lost. So now it's about to just, snowball into a clear, bad season. And the other thing too, is like, this is a situation where it's like, it's strength on strength, right? You have the Vikings defense versus the Dallas offense, and then you have the other side, which is the 9 versus the Cowboys defense. And I think that, healthy offensive line, they'll be able to run the ball decently well, and continue to play good football on the offense.
We will see. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm more so anticipating moving on to this next game in which I've noticed the fact that you haven't given your upset alert yet.
Yeah. What's the last
Which
game?
frightens
the last
me,
game?
Adam. Dolphins at Steelers.
Oh yeah, I'm picking the Dolphins. They're to win.
What is the spread?
3.5.
You're picking the Dolphins to outright win.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Sell me on it. Pitch me it.
This is a game that Mike Tomlin loses. So here, real
And
quick.
with that, you've pitched me.
Yeah. Let me just look at their schedule just to show you my exact reasoning. Because, I was talking about, I've actually kind of convinced myself of this while I was talking to my dad about how it's over for the Bengals and how he should give up hope. Listen, the last 4 games, so the Steelers are playing the Dolphins, the Lions, the Browns, and then the Ravens, right? So the way that the Steelers lose against or lose the division essentially is a situation in which they go 9-8. Let me look one second. Because the Ravens right now are 6-7, right? So they are also playing the Patriots and the Packers. So let's say best case scenario, they win one of those games, which chances are they're not, but let's just say that they do. The situation plays out where I'm predicting a 9-8 victory for AFC North victory for the Steelers. Right now that they are 7-6. So that basically means they win 2 games. Their last 4 games, Dolphins, Lions, Browns, Baltimore. The way I see this going is they beat Baltimore and it's like, ooh, look, they're playoff hope. They're going to win the division, yada, yada, yada. Then they lose to Miami and it's like, oh, classic Steelers, let's fire Mike Tomlin, whatever. Then they lose to the Lions and it's like, those freaking bums, get them out of here. Then they end up beating the Browns. They end up beating the Ravens, winning the division with a 9-8 record.
Man, you kind of sold me on that. Oh,
yeah. It's and like there are also like analyticals. There's like in-game.
There are
things
actual
that I think,
other reasons to pick them.
The Dolphins are like, with a bad schedule, like kind of on the uptick. This is like, they're, of course, like, I don't like the fact that this is in Pittsburgh just because it's cold. I didn't even consider that. But the offense is kind of.
You want to know something, Adam?
What?
Tua Tagovailoa has never won a game of football when the temperature at kickoff was 40 degrees Fahrenheit or lower.
True. He actually like reset that number against the Jets this week.
Oh, did he? I didn't.
Yeah, he did. Because I think it was like 41 degrees at kickoff.
He's acclimating more and more. 10 years from now, he might be able to win a game that's 35 degrees.
But anyway, it's just like this offense is doing better. Devon Achane, like, no one's talking about it because he's on the Dolphins. Dude is cooking. Like, good things happen when Devon Achane gets the ball. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, and I could also see a world where that pass rush just absolutely demolishes them. But this just feels like one of those stupid games that the Steelers lose.
I can't disagree with that logic.
I feel like it's either going to be the Browns or the Dolphins. And I feel better about picking the Dolphins than the Browns to beat them.
Okay. I'm not picking them, but you sold me on that not being a ridiculous pick.
We'll see. It could be stupid. I'm kind of convincing myself otherwise, but I've committed to it.
You've committed to it. It's too late. You've fallen for the Dolphins curse. This has happened to someone on the show before, hasn't it, Adam?
Yeah, it has. But yours was stupid. Mine makes sense. No. Yes. Anyway.
Well, I guess I am due up to pick the player whose highlights you should watch.
Yes.
It's very important. I'm going to say go watch Louisville Tyler Shuck highlights.
Yes.
Go see the inner beast that's within the man, the myth, the Shuck. And
Bro,
how he very well may be the future.
Come back to this video and comment how you feel after you see Tyler Shuck roll out left and throw a bomb.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Is he the greatest quarterback in the NFL at rolling left?
I mean, I think we can just start asking the question, is he the greatest quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a qualifier.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's the greatest quarterback in the NFL at winning games while throwing 144 passing yards.
By completing
and you know what? That's a
passes. It is. Only Shuck can do that. Only Shuck can make you feel that kind of way.
If you walked away from this video feeling shucked, then comment, subscribe, tell us how you feel, share your thoughts. This is a safe space. Many of us on this program and many viewers here have been shucked in the past. We've gone through that. So feel free to open up to us.
Mm-hmm. I was shucked this week. My team was shucked.
Yeah, it's kind of been an entire season of shocking for the Chiefs. I'm actually reliving childhood trauma. It's exposure therapy.
But it's about how you bounce back after you were shucked. You know, and so far this year, teams have bounced back well against when they've been shucked.
That's true. That's why we believe in the Buccaneers, and hopefully that proves true based on Adam's sample size of 2. It might be expanding to 3.
Dude, as it grows, people are going to catch on. I'm just early to the party. All right, guys. Do all the things. We love you.
Do all of it. Love you. Bye.